Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the country. My name is Richard Capone, and today we're going to be having a webinar on AI in Action IEP Edition. With me today is Tina Wagner, and she's a special education teacher at Edge Middle School in Oregon, and she is also the Oregon CEC president. And so we're real lucky to have her because she's a real cutting edge person who's working with ChatGPT, with AI, and hopefully you're going to learn a lot today. Now, a little background, Let's Go Learn is a precision diagnostic assessment company. So we have a platform that supports special education departments. We have diagnostics in reading and math, as well as instruction. And the reason why we're so excited about this is because our opinion is when you have good data, that's going to allow you to have good AI, right? So it's garbage in, garbage out. So you really need really good tools. And today we're seeing the operationalization. How do you use ChatGPT in practice, right? There's a lot of people talking about it, but Tina has jumped in there and done it. So, Tina, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing for a second. And so let me go ahead and ask you a few questions. So when did you first start using AI in education, I should say?
Probably about a year ago. It was introduced to me as like, you know what, you should try this. It might make it a little bit easier at writing present levels. And it made it streamlined. I could make almost all of them look very similar, and things like that. But the capacity to gather all the data that I needed um, was amazing. Let me rephrase that. It doesn't gather, but when I input the data, it is able to synthesize it in a way that I could use. So,
So
so little over a year.
great. So what about your background? I know things are a little challenging in your particular special education environment, and all of them are different. But what in particular lent itself to leverage AI? Like, why would you be incentivized to do this?
Okay, so I am what you would call an old newbie. So I've only been teaching about 7 years. I started as a paraprofessional within our district. And then when I was 40, about 40-ish, a little bit after, I can't remember, I think, yeah, 40-ish, I was approached because I had a bachelor's degree for my school district to pay for me to get my master's in special education through a local university. So I never went to school to learn curriculum. I never learned how to uh, teach, so to speak. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but we learned a lot about special ed law. We learned a lot about things. So over the last year or so, this tool, that valuable tool in my opinion, worth the $20 extra I pay a month for access to the full version, has allowed me to streamline my teaching process. I was a self-contained teacher, then I went to LRC, a resource room, and then now I'm back into self-contained, but in a different way because I'm completely online. So I do teach students who are cognitively low, ranging from grade K to 3, but who are middle schoolers. So AI has allowed me to learn how to differentiate.
Got it. So you did mention something else. You said that you're using the paid version of ChatGPT, right? Can you explain why you're doing that?
With the free version, I was very limited on the capacity that I could use it at, in a sense that um, you only get limited usage of the full version every 24 hours or something like that, or so much words can be used. I didn't quite know the quite what their math was, but I would have to pause and then I'd have to come back. By paying for the full version, I can upload documents, it'll read things, it'll generate images and things like that. So it was worth the investment for me because I felt my time was well worth $20 a month. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, just like I said, the privacy issues as well, it just gives you a little bit more peace of mind on that in that regard. So, all right. So what about in terms of diving in? Did you have to get approval from your district? Did how does some of that work? Some of the logistics. I'm just curious about that.
some districts are, AI is so new. So you obviously wanted to talk with those powers that be, but the person who actually directed me to ChatGPT was my program associate. So she's the one that's like, you should try this. I probably have extended it a little bit bigger than, and I do pay for it on my private account or tied to my private email. But I redact everything before I upload. Due to FERPA and certain laws, you can even ask ChatGPT, "Are you secure?" And it'll say yes, but I might not meet certain laws that standards that are set forth by uh, FERPA, which is the education privacy laws. Definitely speak to your administration, but for what I use it for, some things, creating content that I would need. The only privacy ones that I do is my IEPs. So
Got it. And then as far as jumping in there, I know we're going to show it in a second. What are some of the things you found, like just you had to sort of jump to learn through practice? Like I'm going to throw out some terms. People have heard of prompts, prompt engineering, hallucinations. And those are some common terms. And we have some other webinars we did. If people don't know what that is, you should watch that webinar. But what are some of the things you did in order to make that a nice process for yourself?
So you do have to, it is a learning process to find the right wording, because sometimes we think something means something, one thing, and it'll be interpreted another. Or just learning, you have to be very precise sometimes. And so I have created like a document where I have a format I want it to use every single time. I don't expect it to remember every single time. I will have it gather all my data, and then I'll enter my format for my present levels, and I'll say, okay, now generate based upon this format, and it does. And you still have to, obviously, I would recommend anytime you ever use AI to always review it and make sure that it accurately represents. It's getting better and better. When I first started, it'll actually learn you. So like I've had some points where I'm having conversations with it back and forth, and it starts to learn what you want. And so it'll pretty much adapt to you. So it's kind of nice. It's
That's
like a
great.
friend I didn't know I needed.
Uh, so right now, because you've been sort of more independent, I think in some other districts, what they would do then is maybe have shared drives, right? So you can say, hey, everyone, here is the prompts we're using when asking it to write present levels or asking it to evaluate data to get at present levels. And of course, you're in Oregon, so you're going to be saying something like, hey, make sure you use the Common Core standards. If you're in Texas, you're going to be asking it to use the Texas standards, right? Or whatever it may be doing. So I think those are some of the things, right? Because I think one thing people forget is that the ChatGPT looks at the entire internet.
Right.
And our goal is to zero it in on our sliver of
Mhm.
what we wanted to do. And that's why they always say it's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I'm a special education teacher and I would like you to help me write. So even some of that's helpful. So
Well, and I've had it, you help me generate letters and emails and things like that. It doesn't necessarily know who it's talking to all the time. I can say, it's me, be sure to put me, sometimes it'll say your name, your signature, right? So it's a tool, it's not a replacement. So there's still a human factor, but it's one of my most valuable tools. So
that's awesome. All right, I'm gonna share something real quickly.
okay.
Um, okay. All right, and you can see my screen, hopefully. Okay, so what I want to do, oops, I guess before I do that, what I want to share with you is this is a sample intranet we have, and I have a QR code to this that you guys can jump to it. But this is what we recommend our customers do is create a prompt intranet, right? The intranet means that it's an internal web page for your organization. And you could put, sample prompts for your lesson plans, prompts for when asking you to do create content, prompts for SMART goals and present levels, different ones like that. And this essentially this could just be a Google Drive, right? So if I click on this, this is actual document. I'm having some sample prompts, and I actually pasted your prompts that you use, Tina, right here when you're asking it to do present levels. But anyway, I think this is a really good idea. And then if nothing else, this is for you. It's an evolving document. You know where to go to get it.
Mhm.
Now, the next thing I was going to show, and you've been taking advantage of this, is we created our own GPT, and we're going to be showing you all this today. So what a GPT is, anyone can do this actually with a Plus account. But we created the LGL report expert, and you can search for this. It's public. And this, we uploaded to it all the specifications of our reports, like what is the scope and sequences of skills within the subtests of math? How do we test phonics in Spanish or English? What's the order of the scope and sequence? So we uploaded all sorts of spec docs in here. So every time you come to this report expert, it has knowledge of our reports. And I was going to show you guys just a real simple one. We're going to start off with simple before we jump into your IEP process. So here is this is from our system. When you save a PDF file, you could tell it to de-identify it. So this is a de-identified report, and all it has is the student's first name, date of birth, teacher, everything else has been pulled out. And this is an 11-page report, right? Really detailed, talking about and all these scope and sequences, telling where the students' present levels are. The present levels are actually the green bars right here, right there. And so what I'm going to do is just show you something that's very typical. So if I wanted to drag this in here, now you can only drag files in with a GPT Plus account. And I would say, please focus on numbers and operations. Jeez. Strand for Kevin. Pull out the next 15 skills I should focus on. Now here's being specific. Be sure to grab the lowest skills first. Also, reminder, the plus in the tested column are his present levels. Okay, I like being, just an extra sentence. Hit return. It's evaluating that report. And of course, this is something you could do, but what's nice about it is it's going to go ahead and pull it out for me. And this is actually, I'm looking at the report that's accurate. Within place value, he is working on 10,000, 100,000 next, and then he's working on expanded form, and it's going on so on and so forth, looking at all of it. Now, sometimes it'll grab, other things that you don't want. And you may have to tell it, okay, no, make sure you use the grade level to rank what I want to focus on. But this is, place value, a little bit of subtraction, multiplication, and a lot of fractions. Those are the next 15 skills I would want to work on for Kevin. And I don't have to necessarily go through here and pull all that out myself. It just grabbed the priority ones, which was nice. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to stop sharing. And I'll let you share and we can start seeing what you've done.
Okay. So first and foremost, I have gathered, at the point I'm at now, it's usually when I've already have like the reports that I pulled from Let's Go Learn or whatever documents you have for testing, if it's that plus more or whatever. And then also present level statements, not statements, excuse me, his previous IEP goals and the progress he's made on it. So this is a male student, 7th grade. I did redact his name just because it's not that hard to find if you know where I work. So, and then I put work samples in, screenshots of work samples, because ChatGPT can also read images and things like that. So I'm going to share through the process instead of going through the process. I'm going to show you what I went through. So here we have the 2 reports that I uploaded, the math detail and the Dora student, and they're both redacted, uploaded them. And then I gave it a little direction too, similar to what Richard did. I just emphasized what certain keys are in the report itself. And then I had indicated it was a male student in the 7th grade, and NT means not tested. So just sometimes like I'll start with little here, and then it'll present something that doesn't like it named it somebody, it wanted to name it some random person. So I was like, okay, no, this is all the same person and it's a male. So the nice thing is you can edit. If it don't get what you want the first time, you can edit and refine it. And then it created the detailed report for me. Total score aligns roughly, it gives me, and it breaks it all down for me like this. And this is just the data, the raw data I needed it to pull for me. And then it gives me a recommended present levels statements as well. But this is just data based upon the reports. And then I let ChatGPT know that he does have a diagnosis of autism. And so this is just something to take into account when we're creating the present levels as to why he may be certain ways as far as the way he processes information. And then I uploaded some work samples, some writing samples. This is another writing sample. This was just an image of the different writing samples, and then a comprehension test. And then this here is his actual goals and progress reports in one. And I uploaded them all. And then it's like, and then I told him I'm going to upload these things, and I want it present levels based upon his previous goals and progress as well as current classroom work. So I wanted it to take what he was working on plus his current stuff and give me another present levels. So it did all of that based upon that data. And I'm still in the LGL report expert because it's still ChatGPT. It just this GPT allows it to understand the reports. And so that's why you'll see this here. And so it processed all of that data, the previous goals, the strength that they saw in the progress, areas that it's still struggling in, and then some recommended goal areas. And then the writing is the same thing and things like that. So, and then it asks me would I like specific IEP goals? And I'm like, well, actually, I had some more data for it as far as the progress in the areas of his self-advocacy and social. So I added more data in. And then thank you for providing it. It's very kind, by the way. ChatGPT is very kind to you. So if you're having a rough day and you need some positive affirmations, you can actually ask it and it'll give you some positive affirmations.
Without any judgment either, I might add, right?
Right. So, so I then said, okay, I have a format I use for my IEPs. Every district has a different format. Our district kind of leaves it up to the teacher as far as how you want to write your IEP goals or your IEP present levels. But if your district has a specific format, you just plug it in there. And I say, so I want a present level statement for every goal area. So if it's reading, I want a robust present level area using all of the data. And I said, here, please incorporate the LGL reports as well, because sometimes it'll only look at the last thing that you were doing. So you want to reference that. No, I want it to look at everything we've been doing so far. So, and then I was like, what was the previous goal? And then the progress on the previous goal, a suggested new goal area. So like we typically, in middle school, we don't focus a lot on fluency. So I have to tell it because typically when the students are that low, it's going to want you to say, well, you need to work on them increasing their speed in their reading or understanding certain words. We focus a lot more, especially in our district, on comprehension because we can provide them the tools they need in order to access like this, the text to speech. And so we tend to focus on this. Now, if they're elementary, we do focus on fluency and things like that. And then
that's great. So you have that saved, right? So you have that nice format saved that you can go ahead and copy and paste it.
All in a Google Doc, copy paste. And then, and then I tell it I want it in paragraph format because ChatGPT really likes bullets. It really likes bullet points. So, because it's just giving you whatever, right? And then this is what it gave me. And I read through it, ensure that it's accurate, the wording makes sense, everything, and it gives me the grade level, the standard they're working towards, because all of our present levels and our goals must be applied towards a grade level standard, but it also gives me their actual functioning level because I asked it to. And then the justification for the goals. So it did everything I asked it to do. Sometimes I won't like a goal and I'm like, let's focus on this area of the goal instead. And it'll still find the justification for that goal based upon the data and things like that. So it's great. Same with math. And then I like to do their disability impact. So how does their impact? And so I'll say autism impact statement for reading, for writing, for math. And then if I was doing the final one, it would be also for the social communication and all of their goal areas, right? And then I said, okay, well, what accommodations should the student have based upon their present levels and what you see? And it'll provide me the accommodation plus the reason why. Like, it's not just saying this goal, it'll explain why and what that goal is for. I mean, what that accommodation's for. And then this student is also on modified curriculum. So I said, can I have a modification statement? And if it is modified in breadth, depth, and complexity, so it gives me a statement in each area and how it's modified. And then there you go.
So to reiterate, initially you're uploading some data and you're getting it sort of to agree, yes, this is what I want to focus on. Then you're uploading, so you uploaded our reports, the math and reading report, which is quite extensive. Then you're uploading some practice work. Once you have that established, then you tell it, okay, now I want you to write the IEP, and here's my prompt for how I like my IEPs,
Yeah.
et cetera, right? Okay.
And I tend to have it read the data right after, so it's in the chat and it doesn't have to go back to the documents again, because sometimes it forgets the document that's there, which is, I think, is great, because what if you accidentally upload something you don't want, or it's changed a little? You can say, hey, refer, and then I'll upload it again if I need to. But if I have it process the data is there in the chat. So I have it process the data as I go and then compile it.
It's interesting. It's like it's an assistant, right? Because it's sort of like, let's say you were working with a paraprofessional or somebody who, doesn't know as much about the student. You would first say, hey, Richard, let me bring you in to work with John. Here's his reports. Notice that, let's look at his highlights. Where the ones, and then you start getting, here's his sample work. So you're sort of feeding it to them, but then you're saying, okay, now create that IEP, and here's the guidelines, right? And this is the way I want it.
And then I say it's literally everything we already do, right? As special education case managers, we're already compiling the data, we're already collecting it, we're already creating these documents. It's just that's one of the most time-consuming parts of being a case manager, special education teacher, is compiling the data. Collecting data is easy. I mean, got a work sample here, work sample there. But I even have it used if I give it a rubric that for the writing and I say, does this student meet this rubric? It'll be like, no, it's missing in this area, this area, and this area, which, we can all do that ourselves too. But if you have like 15, 20, 30 of these things you have to do, it's nice to have an assistant. So.
Now, you mentioned something to me before. So you keep each student sort of in a separate chat and you go back to it. So that way, almost in a sense, it's your data of record, right? So if you need to, you can come back 2 days later and say, hey, by the way, here's some new information. Can you modify this IEP that you wrote 2 days ago and incorporate this? So then, and please rewrite it in its entirety, and then it rewrites it, right?
Correct. And then also, I have it labeled, like, instead of a name, it'll say the student. Then I can copy that and put it into a document and do a replace, and it'll go in and replace the word student with the student's name. So it's actually it's nice. So just for privacy, and then also keeping it out of, I don't know, I don't know if I could explain the amount of help ChatGPT has truly allowed me to breathe. This is just the IEP. It does so much more for me than just the IEP. So.
Yeah, that's amazing. All right. So Um, Time has flied. It's already been about 30 minutes. So let's go ahead and take some questions. I don't know if people want to type in their questions. So while we wait for that, I do want to show this here is the QR code for that sample intranet site that I created. So I did copy Tina's present levels into that one SMART goal and present level link. So I put it in there so you can see what she has. So this is a great thing to have. Every organization should have something like this. I think it's really important to share this so that way you get those people who are real excited about it, create a team of teachers who want to sort of pioneer for your organization. And then also, okay, go past this. Also, we do have a playlist where you can see more of our videos, and this will also be put into our playlist on YouTube. And this is if you want to contact and talk to anyone at Let's Go Learn. All right, here's some questions. You made it look so easy. Can you share a list of the process for beginners? So that's sort of an offline question. I think a list of process for the beginner. What would you say was the first thing someone should do for a beginner?
Pay for the paid version. But when it comes to actually streamlining it, it really is individualized. But for me, it was establishing, is there a set format that I want my IEP written in, like the different headings? And then once you have that, you're able to gather the data you need in order to fill in those blanks. So if you have, like, if you wanted to look at your previous goal and your previous and the progress on that previous goal, you're going to have to input that goal and the previous and the progress, right? And then any present work samples that you think would implement. So as far as streamlining, kind of basically how I walked that whole thing, that literally was me showing you step by step for a beginner. Don't start big. Start with just maybe establishing goals. If you think that it's too much to try to write your entire IEP, give it a goal area and say, I need a goal that meets this standard in reading for someone who struggles with comprehension, or however you want to word it, and just start small there. Start with just getting basic goals.
Right.
And you kind of build up from there. So,
All right. There's a bunch of questions actually popping in. So here's a question. Is this considered plagiarism? Are we copying pasting into the IEP document? I'll take a quick stab. I don't think it's plagiarism because it's actually writing it for you. It's you're collaborating with it and prodding it along to write something that's custom.
to put it into perspective, if you use a program, even like Let's Go Learn has a present level statement on theirs based upon the data, right? If you were to copy and paste that, it wouldn't be considered plagiarism because you're dealing with the student and the information is very individualized. If you're working with even if you've ever heard of Goalbook, they also, you can create present levels into their stuff and it copy and paste that. So it's a tool to synthesize the data. It's a tool. It's not creating or copying anything. It's just using wordsmithing for the data that you are inputting. If that makes
I think it makes sense. All right, we got some more questions. So I missed the beginning. Is the LGL platform free when paying for ChatGPT Pro? So Let's Go Learn. Our assessment is a paid for platform. If you want to use our diagnostic assessments, it's, you use it to test kids diagnostically in reading and math. But the LGL Reading Expert is a free ChatGPT that we created. So it's for our customers. So you could access that if anybody has even the free ChatGPT account. Yeah. You don't have to have a paid account to access that. Anyone could use it. So that's a good question. All right. Here's another complicated question. I have a really complex prompt that I'm working towards. I want to input WAT scores, WIAT scores, and observational, and have ChatGPT output a 30-paragraph academic report. I currently accomplish this through Google Sheets that looks up some scores and does a huge concatenation of boilerplate text. I have the paid version, but mostly just ask it to make rubrics and stuff. Great for that. Any pointers? So that's pretty heavy duty.
You're wanting to basically the same thing, synthesize a bunch of data to create a report for you. You would just have to, as you're going, I would do it step by step. Don't try to do it all at once. If you have a certain area you want to focus on that area. Like if you want to then move on to the next and move on to the next. And then because what I found while refining this is that even still, if I don't think that the present level statement is robust enough, I'll say like, I need more data and more information. I need more information to make this more robust, but also verified through data. I don't want it to just throw things in there because it's really good about like, well, they're autistic, so it must be this, right? But I'm like, I need actual evidence of it, not just a statement.
So
So
for a larger project like that, you would chunk it out, like maybe say,
definitely
here's my data. I need to work on my executive summary. I need to work on what are the main bullet points of the body of the document. Yeah, that makes sense.
create the outline. It will do, you know, and then work through that process that way.
Okay, that's great. So a couple questions about this. Are there addressing confidentiality and uploading reports, and then legal documents for school districts to safely use it? Yeah, so I think we sort of talked about that already. I mean, I think that the issue is that if you're using ChatGPT, it is a paid account, so it is under your name. You have your own login and password, but we recommend redacting. Like when we export our reports from Let's Go Learn, we have a version that says, create anonymous version or de-identified version, and it takes out, I mean, it's just a student's first name.
And I
So,
had a very lengthy conversation with ChatGPT because I was like, how secure are you? And they're like, well, they don't remember everything. So it will forget, like if you delete a chat, it's gone. It's like hitting delete on your computer, right? It's not and then I'm like, well, how secure is it? And they say they're secure, but it still comes down to they don't know if they because AI is so new, they don't know if they would meet the legal definition for FERPA. That's why I never use a student's name, and I never use their birthdays because first of all, I don't like if I'm updating a report. If you have the Adobe, I have the Adobe Acrobat Professionals.
yeah.
I can say redact, and it'll go in and find that name and black it out. And so obviously, I'm a little slight advantage in that area, but um, for the long
Well,
time, I've copied and pasted before I had copied and pasted and then just removed the words. So
that was another question about legality. So I have another comment on that. I know as a vendor, I've taken the courses on all the different privacy and everything like that. We have to de-identify the data, and then it's okay. So, for instance, if a customer is working with us and they've got 25,000 students in our system, and then suddenly they say, "Hey, we're no longer going to work with you. We're discontinuing our contract." Our obligation is to de-identify our data, right? So as long as we're deleting, and so there's no way to identify and tie a specific student to data, we can have raw data. It has to be de-identified. Likewise, directory information. On a side note, it's okay. Directory information on a student is not considered private. So my name, Richard Capone, that's directory information because of course you have to be able to share lists. But that's why we're saying de-identify it ahead of time. And I think that's really an important thing to understand. Okay, so another question, what type of data are your typical inputs to ChatGPT? In the ChatGPT Plus, you can upload documents. Otherwise, you have to copy and paste text into it. And so I do think that's a real advantage because you can upload a spreadsheet, you can
not
upload a
only,
PDF file.
not only that, whatever, if you like have signed in with Google, you can actually uh it you can share directly from your Google Drive.
Oh, you can.
Mhm.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah. Um,
Bird out
all
of there someone. I'm sorry, speaking not well, I guess.
all right. I think we got most of the questions. There are some of the questions about can you share some of your Google Docs, your pre-written prompts. I'll go ahead and update that website so maybe Tina and I could, that's the one main prompt you had was the IEP one.
But that is for the IEP, but I have prompts for like my prior written notices. I have prompts for emails that I send to parents afterwards. I have quite a bit that I
Are you okay sharing some of that?
yeah, I sure.
So what I'll do is I'll put it onto that intranet site. I'll put a little thing down there and I'll put a link saying Tina's prompts. Okay. And I'll just throw it into a Google Doc. I'll make it public and you guys could go ahead and copy and paste it as you see fit. I mean, I think it's great. That's the great thing about this is everyone's sharing information and, that way people don't have to relearn how to ride a bicycle, So I don't know if that's the right analogy. I don't know why I said that, but anyway.
I also use it, just a side note, since I am online, all of our meetings are done through, like Microsoft Teams or whatever, and you can do a script. I have downloaded or uploaded a script to create meeting minutes. So a transcript. So it'll just get the highlights. It knows what to do on meeting minutes. It doesn't just repeat everything that was said. So it's kind of nice. So
All right. Okay. Well, I think that's it. So thank you so much, Tina, for sharing all your expertise with everyone. I think it's really, what's so hard about new technology, it's hard to figure out how do I operationalize it. If we can think of some other things as well, we'll go ahead and put it in there. I know there was a couple questions about how do I get started, but really, I think it depends on your task, right? So, what do you want to do, and then you break down the steps.
Someone made the comment about how the LGL report expert wasn't available in the free. There is two different free versions. There's the I'm a guest and I'm not creating an account version. And then there's the login free version where you actually create an account and it'll save everything you do. And then there's the paid, which is just more robust, like the ability to upload and create images and all that stuff. If they didn't create an account itself, you wouldn't be able to use probably the report expert because it's very personal. But maybe you have to have it to upload. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always everyone should create an account because I mean, idea is once you create an account, there is a certain level of, you're right. You're not just an anonymous user going onto a website typing stuff, right?
Well,
You
and
want to
just so
create
you
an account.
know, yeah, when you're doing the one that you don't create an account with, your data is not secure. They use that for training of the ChatGPT. So,
Okay, there you go. So you got to create an account. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. And it'll take a day or two. You'll get get the slides, you get the video, and thank you so much, Tina. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye, everyone.